Good afternoon and welcome. It is terrific to be here with all of you. We're having an incredibly productive day at the inaugural TTC meeting. And this roundtable will be about workforce training and workforce development. I'd like to begin by thanking my colleagues, Secretary Blinken and Ambassador Tai. They've been fantastic partners and collaborators, and we're all deeply committed to this work. And of course, thank our European colleagues for being here, EVPs Vestager and Dombrovskis. Thank you for traveling, and thank you for bringing your teams and all of the work that we've done. We have been discussing this morning how vital workforce is. The reality is none of the rest of what we're discussing matters if we can't find people to do these jobs. We can talk all day about semiconductors, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, cybersecurity. You cannot build these companies unless you have people, talent, who have these digital data technology skills. And right now, in both the US and in Europe, we don't. In America now, there are 500,000 cyber tech jobs going unfilled. Available, unfilled, because we don't have a 500,000 cyber technicians who are trained. So it is an issue of great urgency. It's also real upside, opportunity, making sure that every person has the digital skills they need in order to get the jobs of today and tomorrow provides opportunity for individuals. So this is important as anything else that we'll be discussing. It's an area about which I have a great deal of passion. Prior to my current job, I was the governor of Rhode Island for 6 years and a real leader in workforce development. And what I learned from that is that it only works when business is at the center of the discussion. Business has to be at the table, designing the curriculum, and quite frankly, committing to hiring the people that come out of the training programs. Whether it's a community college or some other effort, business has to step up and hire folks. By the way, even if people don't check the box, 4-year college degree, perfect resume. That's an old-fashioned way of hiring. We in the public sector need to fund training initiatives, and the private sector needs to modernize the way it hires and agree to hire folks that come out of this training as long as they have the requisite skills and competencies. In the Biden administration, we are deeply committed to this. President Biden is pushing Congress for major investments in apprenticeships and workforce training and workforce development. And in our team, we are working across the cabinet. We've created a kind of a working group between Secretaries of Commerce, Labor, and Education so we can break down the silos and work together. The last comment I will make is underpinning all of our workforce efforts has to be equity. So it is vital that in providing workforce training and development, women, people of color, people in rural areas, people who've been left out, people who've been dropped out of the workforce due to deindustrialization, our efforts must reach them so that they can also participate in the new economy. And I will put a shameless plug in here for the Chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh, Pat Gallagher, who knows a lot about this because he spent decades at the Department of Commerce working on exactly these issues. So I feel quite lucky to have you here. In any event, with that, I'm going to turn it over to EVP Vestager for a few opening remarks.
Well, if anyone doubted that we have something in common, well, this is it. Because we have the exact mirror of the U.S. situation as Secretary Raimondo just described it. End of story. And we need to do the same thing. And the reason why it's so important is, of course, otherwise we lose opportunity, but also because technology is a tool that will shape our future society. And it cannot be that it's just one generation or one gender that shapes the future. The tools that we're going to need, how technology is going to help us diagnose diseases, decision-making in public services, in courtrooms. Here we need, a completely diverse community to grow. Women, in particular. In Europe, only 1 in 6 digital expert would be a woman. So we really need to bring all ages on board. Also because no matter how good we are in primary school, we cannot wait for the results. So to incentivize people to come back to education, here I think one of the tricks is indeed apprenticeships. And I can completely second what was just said. When one has the privilege to say, this is what we need, when people learn what we need, then they should also be offered a job. Those two things should come together. And we've been looking so much forward to come here, to listen to you, to learn from you, because as someone said in the stakeholder event this morning, if I only have one wish, only one, it would be more people with the right skills, and they should be digital. So really been longing to hear your advice, your experience, and how we can work together to make it happen, because this is real key for our democracies to deliver when it comes to make best use of technology. So thank you very, very much for sharing this time with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Ambassador Tai?
I want to thank all of you for your participation in today's event. The Biden-Harris administration's approach to trade policy puts the interests of workers first. A critical component of our approach is robust stakeholder engagement to ensure that a wide variety of opinions are considered at every stage of the policymaking process. And our work on the Trade and Technology Council is no exception. 2021 marks a milestone for the strong and enduring bilateral relationship between the European Union and the United States of America on labor issues. 25 years ago, the European Commission and the U.S. Department of Labor signed a memorandum of understanding establishing the U.S.-EU Working Group on Employment and Labor-Related Issues. That mechanism is still at work today, providing important collaboration on labor-related issues, including apprenticeship and work-based learning. And today's discussion at the newly established TTC is consistent with that collaboration, as the issues that we are discussing are about preparing workers for the jobs of tomorrow and ensuring that the digital economy is designed to support workers and their families in the United States, in Europe, and around the world. The growth of the digital economy has transformed all of our lives, and some U.S. stakeholders have expressed concern about increasing trade in the digital economy and correctly noted that if not done right, new policies could lead to increased offshoring of jobs and the erosion in the quality of the work here at home. That is why we must work together to ensure that our digital trade policies raise standards and that they benefit workers and their families around the globe. Additionally, we need to invest more in our workers. And the Biden-Harris administration is taking many steps to prioritize workforce development programs. For example, the administration is working to promote equal opportunity, diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and social protections in registered apprenticeship programs. I want to thank all of you again for your participation today, and I look forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. EVP Dombrovskis?
Thank you, Secretary Raimondo. Dear colleagues, well, first of all, I'd like to say it's a pleasure to be here in Pittsburgh at the inaugural Trade and Technology Council. And as colleagues had said before, we cannot discuss trade and technology without building tech talent. This is our joint goal. This is a case for EU and US governments, also for companies, academia, and civil society at large. Trade is also relevant in this context. To give example, trade currently supports 38 million jobs in the EU. This is increase of 9 million jobs over a decade. which means that nearly 1 in 5 jobs in the EU is linked to the exports to non-EU countries. We want to be open and we want digital trade, but trade and digitalization also how to deliver to our people, workers, businesses in Europe as they do in the United States. This is why the exchange of how to nurture tech talent is so beneficial. We need to be clear about the skills needed. The EU-US exchange with stakeholders on workforce management in tech companies is important building block on this. As Executive Vice President Vestager already said, digital skills and jobs are a priority for the European Union. This is the reasoning behind our basic digital skills target. By 2030, 80% of people aged between 16 and 74 will need to have at least basic digital skills. The lack of digital skills is an important gap we need to face. There is a shortage of IT specialists in Europe, which have advanced digital skills, and this shortage is often highlighted by our companies. With regards to more advanced digital skills, the new Digital Europe program, with a budget of 600 million euros, is dedicated to advancing digital skills and will help to expand a dedicated digital talent pool. So the goal is to have over 200,000 people ready to deploy the latest technology in business throughout Europe. Advancing this digital upskilling would require companies to work together across industries, and this is exactly the spirit of EU Pact for Skills, which establishes public-private partnerships and individual commitments in order to upskill and reskill Europe's workforce. And of course, first and foremost, focusing on strategic sectors and value chains. We know that the digitalization of our economies and societies can only be achieved through an open and stable global trading environment. So we need really to work on this and see this connection between trade and technologies. Thank you very much, and looking forward for hearing for your views. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Secretary Blinken.
Gina, thank you very much, and it's wonderful to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for taking the time for this conversation this afternoon. We've had a very productive day already in Pittsburgh, a great American city, an industrial capital in the last century, a high-tech capital in this century, and so a very fitting place, I think, for the conversations we're having. Let me just, at the risk of repeating something I said in one of our conversations this morning, just put it this way. If we were gathered in this room around this table 100 years ago when we were asking ourselves what constitutes the wealth of our respective nations, we'd probably be talking about everything from the expanse of our landmass, to the size of our population, to the strength of our military, to our abundance of natural resources. And happily, the United States and the European Union remain very wealthy in all of those attributes. But I think what this conversation reflects is the fact that more than ever before, the true wealth of a nation is found in its human resources, and the potential for a country or a group of countries to fully unleash those resources, to meet their full potential. And that's ultimately what this is all about and what we're trying to get at today, particularly how we do that more effectively and more equitably in the tech space. And so we're very anxious to hear from all of you. As my colleagues have said, one of the other things we know so powerfully is that we have to be doing all of these things hand in hand and from the takeoff with all of the relevant stakeholders, and not just on the landing. Because if we don't, whatever decisions we may arrive at as representatives of our governments will probably not be sustainable. They won't last. So it's vitally important that we have these conversations, we have this input, and it's a regular dialogue. That's very much the spirit of the enterprise that we're engaged in with the TCC across all the issues we're working. So again, thanks to everyone for being here, and anxious to hear from you as opposed to hearing from us. Thanks.
Thank you.